Turn over to the phones right now. Missy Ryan writes about the Pentagon, military issues, and national security for the Washington Post. And Missy's taking some time out of her morning for us, and we appreciate that. Missy, good morning to you.
Good morning.
How you doing this morning?
Doing great. How about yourself?
Well, we're doing fine. Thank you. Looking at your piece in the Washington Post, the issue of where to move Guantanamo detainees threatens closure plan. Well, as Illinois residents, we look at this with a very keen level of interest. Gonna happen? Not gonna happen.
The Obama administration is promising to push ahead with this attempt to close Guantanamo, but that is going to require congressional approval in the end, which seems very difficult considering the unrelenting opposition in the House and the Senate, especially among Republicans, to bringing any Guantanamo detainees to the U.S. mainland. And then, as we wrote about this week, it will also require getting internal agreement within, different U.S. government agencies about what facility or facilities would be best to locate these detainees if they're actually moved out of Guantanamo.
And as you and Adam Goldman report in the Post, Missy, part of the renewed push has been a plan to put some of the remaining detainees either in Charleston, South Carolina, or in Thomson, Illinois, which is not that far from us. And this is a conversation that's gone on for years, even back to 2009 when this was first broached about bringing Guantanamo detainees to the Thomson prison. But there were assurances made, as you well know, by Eric Holder in writing and under oath that Thomson would not be used to house Guantanamo detainees. There would be no transfer. Somehow it appears that promise was overlooked or ignored or forgotten about as this plan was being put in place. What happened?
Well, we don't know exactly how this went down, but we are told that, in fact, this was a pledge made under oath by Eric Holder as part of an agreement to purchase, for the federal government to purchase this facility in Illinois from the state of Illinois. And as part of that, given the opposition from Illinois politicians to putting Gitmo detainees there, he promised that it wouldn't be used for this purpose. And that was, as you said, starting back in 2009 was discussion of Thomson. He made this pledge under oath in 2012, and now here we are in 2015, where people at the White House are really trying to do anything they can to make good on Obama's promise to close Guantanamo before he leaves office. And so I think that, they circled back, and again, Thomson seemed like an attractive option. But it only emerged at the White House that this would not be possible when the Justice Department objected.
And with Thomson taken off the table, if we're to follow through with the former Attorney General's pledge, take that off the table, that leaves us with what, South Carolina?
Potentially, but, there's also, as we write about, some opposition from people like Lindsey Graham, who's the senator from South Carolina and who's running for president. And, the White House says that there are a number of different federal facilities, and there are, that could be used, different military bases or potentially even a prison like Leavenworth. But, as you can imagine, when you start talking about any particular state, that sort of raises the hackles of politicians from those areas because, the fears of security risks and all that. So, there could be an agreement that's reached, but I think it is a tough sell, especially considering the resistance that transfers to third countries, even transfers to foreign countries like Oman or Honduras or Uruguay have been met with a lot of resistance from the Congress. So let alone, Atlanta or Chicago or Washington State.
Missy Ryan is with us from the Washington Post. Her piece on the Guantanamo closure plan at WashingtonPost.com. We got it linked up on our website, too. It's Riley and Scot on WROK. On the pledge by Eric Holder not to transfer detainees to Thomson, Missy, the Justice Department did step up and say, hey, on this latest plan, we can't do it. We made this promise, this pledge. However, considering the fact this is at least the second time the White House identified Thomson as a potential landing point, and the urgency behind the push, the president has a limited amount of time left in office to fulfill what was one of his very first promises as president. Do you think there's any wiggle room or any way the White House gets around this Justice Department pledge and actually does make a real push to use Thomson again?
I think it's possible. There's certainly, legal avenues that they may be exploring, but I think politically it's difficult, and it seems like they've moved on from that possibility.
Seems John McCain is somewhat amenable, and I guess somewhat being the operative word, about the moving of detainees. But he's kind of taken the position of what? Well, you present us with the things that fit our criteria, and we'll start to talk about that. But as it stands right now, nobody's, at least he's not ready to make any big moves.
So he has said, if you give me a plan, I will consider it, and if it's an acceptable plan, I will try to get the support of other people in the Senate and in the Congress. So that's what he's waiting for. He wants a detailed plan on what would happen, and obviously one of the biggest points of contention would be, where to put these people. But remains to be seen whether even the plan will satisfy John McCain, let alone other people in Congress who are less disposed to close Guantanamo.
Missy Ryan with us from the Washington Post. It's Riley and Scott on WROK. Now, some detainees have been transferred to the authority of other countries as well. Is that a possibility with the about 116 who are left in Guantanamo, or has that avenue been closed or already explored in terms of those who are remaining at Guantanamo Bay?
There are 52 who are approved for transfer to other countries, but those transfers require congressional notification, which implies all sorts of measures to mitigate security risks. So not even those are easy sells, and there's been a pretty slow rate of transfers taking place over the last year.
Missy, I'm asking, of course, for prediction here, so it's not exactly certain, certainly, but based on your reporting and what you know about how this process is playing out, how likely do you think it is that the president gets his goal done? The president reaches his accomplishment of actually closing Guantanamo Bay, the prison at Guantanamo Bay. Do you think it gets done before he leaves office?
I don't. I think that Congress has been so consistent with such a comfortable majority of people opposing this closure for so many years that I think it's unlikely, personally.
All right. Missy Ryan, Washington Post, thank you very much for taking time out of us. We steer people over to the website, WashingtonPost.com. Check out her piece on that and other things she writes as well. Missy, thanks. Have a terrific day.
Thank you.